Hey, what's up? This is Grant Findlay-Shirras, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Moguls. I'm here with someone that when I look into his background, I must call him the king of VPs. Everywhere he's been, it's VP this, VP that, with a real expertise in marketing communications. It's Mitch Robinson, who has been a VP of EXP, currently senior VP of EXP Realty. Now you're an SVP. Okay. Then you gotta be, is EVP next?
I don't know.
So SVP, then he was a VP of marketing at Real Self.
Right.
Then you were a VP at Zillow.
Right.
And then before that, you really started, and that's what I think I want to start with your experience-wise. First at State Farm Insurance, you were marketing director.
Right.
And then you were product and marketing at Expedia.
Yeah, it's really, I've been very fortunate in my career. For me, the fun part was, especially when I joined Expedia, I was like number 300. I think now they have something like 13,000 people.
That's early.
And when I joined Zillow, I was about number 300, and they have 3,000 or 4,000. So I've always enjoyed coming in early to companies. That's kind of the fun part. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And now at EXP Realty, I think we have about 300 now. I came in way lower at EXP, but it's been a great fun so far.
Okay, so going to that, because in real estate,
right,
insurance is a big auxiliary service that has got to play with the industry.
Right.
Expedia, everyone talks about how look what Expedia did for travel agents and what's going to happen to real estate. Is there going to be an Expedia for real estate?
Right.
So I wonder if that's ever come into play in your thoughts about, hey, I was a part of that company that did disrupt an industry. Are you doing anything at EXP now that leverages some of that background that you had at Expedia?
Yeah, I think Expedia's business is considerably different. Expedia, if you are a great travel agent, you're still in business today because you provide a breadth of services. If you were just doing a simple transaction, then maybe that's where Expedia kind of took over in that space. I think real estate is considerably different. Real estate, when a homeowner is getting ready to buy or sell or buy their first home, that's one of the most important decisions they're ever going to make. It's emotional, it's tied to marriage, divorce, job change, and you need a local professional to do that. Whereas Expedia is kind of like just do it all online. I think companies like EXP, obviously we help agents in the digital realm because a lot of times that's where consumers kind of start their search. But what I really believe in the real estate space is it all comes down to a professional that kind of helps you make that dream come true.
Okay. Now, what would you say, like things that just come naturally to you that your superpowers?
I really enjoy, what I really like too is the ability to kind of understand different audiences and translate what a company needs to accomplish, objectives, tactics, and then how do you translate that into the audience you're trying to help and achieve? Because a lot of times what a company says and then the way you're going to talk to either consumer or agents, whatever, is considerably different. And that translation is super important.
So let's talk about EXP and some of the stuff that you've done because it's a really fast growing brokerage. I think one of the fastest or the fastest?
Yeah, I joined coming up in 2 years ago, and we had maybe 1,000, 1,500 agents, and we just went over the 16,000 mark. So
well done.
Our
in 1 year.
Yeah, our growth has really been pretty phenomenal.
Explain, what are some of the big things that have made that growth happen?
Well, actually, I most of the credit goes to our agents that love the company they work for and want to tell others about it. If you do a good job, and NPS, Net Promoter Score, is very important to us. If we do the right things for agents, then all good things will happen. And we've done, a number of things. We're a virtual brokerage. We don't have bricks and mortar. A number of things like that are super attractive to agents these days that know that most of their meetings happen at a person's home or at a Starbucks or a coffee shop or whatever. And to kind of put up all that investment for a lot of offices where it really doesn't necessarily translate, that's been a big reason for our success.
Were you a part of any of the decision making for that EXP world? If you guys haven't checked out this digital world, it is like The Sims, but
a little
real
bit,
estate
yeah.
Business. Were you a part of figuring that out?
Glenn Sanford, our founder, gets all the credit. He's the visionary that figured it out. What's interesting though is how do you use it and why is it there? And there's a number of different ways. It's staff talking to agents. Our staff We don't have offices, but our staff is always on and always available, whether you're working from your house, your attic, a coffee shop. So the ability for our agents to work with transaction management and IT and other groups, eXp World allows us to do that. And one of the other great things about it is agents talking to agents. They want ways where they can have great conversations, whether it's to be better as an agent or referrals or a number of different ways that agents should be communicating with agents. And sometimes for obvious reasons, you don't necessarily want to communicate with the agent in the same city you are or the same zip code. You'd like to look for expertise kind of beyond your local market, and eXp World also allows for that.
What other tech? So I mean, one of the things for this Property Tech Society, and I'm in tech, so I just love cool tech, and I love to see where this industry is going. I'm only 5 years into it, and it's so cool to see every year what's happening. eXp, everyone talks about being super tech-centric and tech-enabled and innovating, and I see them integrating lots of things. So can you talk about what are some of like the really cool or pillar technologies apart from the virtual world that maybe eXp has, and then also what's in store, like what's on the horizon, what's the future?
Next? Everybody wants to know what's next. There's a couple things right now that kind of come to mind. Just one is eXp Enterprise, which is really kind of our back office platform that we don't talk much about. You hear other franchisors or brokers always kind of bragging about it. It's truly phenomenal what we let agents do independently to see where their transactions are in the process, if they're bringing other agents into the company, how that's going, being able to look at all sorts of numbers that they're doing. Enterprise really allows us to do that, and it's growing every day. On the other side, kind of back to more kind of communication, we've kind of invested heavily with Workplace, which Facebook does. I think we're probably one of the only real estate companies on a national basis using Workplace. And Workplace, again, allows agents to form their own groups, us as staff to form our own groups. One of the biggest problems, I think, that you can have with kind of a national real estate operation is communication. Like, so much of our business is what I call is kind of about conversion. We can offer up all sorts of technology, all sorts of products, but if we can't get conversion on them, if we can't explain them to agents, then none of it really matters. So obviously my world is more marketing and communications, but thankfully we have people around our organization like Scott Petronis, who's our Chief Product and Technology Officer, a number of other people. They do amazing work, and then it's our job to make sure that agents actually take the time to learn and understand and see if it's appropriate for their business.
So that brings me to one of the most common issues I know I have with working with agents. All tech companies, and a lot of our audience are founders and people who work at tech companies. We come up with this great technology and we want agents to use it. We know that if agents use it, they will actually improve their business. They'll make more money, they'll get more clients, they'll have better service, but using it. And so have you learned some tips and tricks, I'm sure, that you can maybe share with me and the audience on how to get agents, how to communicate the change, the new thing, and get them to use it?
Yeah, get them to use it. That's kind of the magic thing we're all looking for. It really comes down to understanding that agents are local business people. I used to always think of it in terms of this industry, and they're part of an industry, but every agent is different, and the needs of an agent in a local community can vary, quite a bit. The big joke is, hey agents, what's your favorite CRM? And the answer usually is the one you're willing to use, right? And so you really need to understand that there's a lot of different agent personas out there. There's agents that want to kill it and do more and more business every year. There's agents that are looking for more of a work-life balance. And so understanding that you just can't say agents are going to like this, and kind of slice and dice them into personas a little bit and decide who the product is really good for. What is that low-hanging fruit? What is that sweet spot? Go after them first and kind of get them to believe and convert. And then once you have believers, then it's easier to go after the next group, right? Because you've already got agents that have had real success with it. And then ideally let them do the talking for you, because an agent talking to another agent about something is usually way better than people like you and I talking to agents.
Do you ask agents who want to be the beta testers? Like, how do you guys figure out that core group of people to?
A little bit. I mean, agents are very willing to raise their hand. We do that again through Workplace and just trainings that we offer in the world. And it's pretty easy to see those that want to be involved. Yeah. And then again, to kind of dig a little deeper, it's pretty easy to get someone to raise their hand and say, sure, I'd like to be part of a beta. The harder decision is, are they kind of right for that beta? And kind of making them go like, kind of hit a few check boxes first before you just go, oh, thank you, we'll take you. It's like, great, please apply, and please let us understand who you are, and then kind of decide like who's appropriate for your beta. And then you want to have success with your test. And so get the right people into the test that can help you get there and give you good feedback at the same time.
Okay. So again, we have investors who watch this as well as people in the tech industry, and so one of the things that we all think about is the decision-making process,
right,
of the people that we want to use our technology.
Right.
So first of all, why Workplace versus, you got Slack, you got I'm sure Messenger, you've got all sorts of different things that you could have used for internal communications.
And let me just tell you, when I came to eXp, we had this famous slide that showed, I think it showed Homer Simpson, and surrounding him were the logos of all the different communication things we used. And nothing against Slack, we've used Voxer, we had them all on the list. And we're like, this is getting crazy, right? And we kind of looked carefully. Again, I give credit to our founder, Glenn Sanford, who really is kind of an innovator and a visionary in a number of ways, including technology. And we kind of filtered down to one platform. And one of the reasons we picked Workplace was that we knew our agents were somewhat familiar with Facebook, and it would be an easier adjustment for them and conversion. A little harder with our tech folks that probably love Slack, for instance.
Yeah.
But because we are such a transparent organization, we wanted to go with something that in particular our agents would be comfortable with.
So Facebook, do you have to pay for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you partner with Facebook to go do that. That eXp World was another company that you bought. They're licensed the technology.
Company named Verbella that had been doing eXp World for a while for us, and then we acquired them at the end of last year.
So you acquired them, okay. So, because when brokerages now, and this is maybe, brokerages who are watching can think about, how do I decide if I want to improve my tech stack?
Yeah.
How do I decide whether I'm going to build it, whether I'm going to buy it, or whether I'm going to partner with a company to get this tech? How do you guys figure out?
We've done all of them, right? Like many have. There's a short and long-term view when you look at these things. There's an ROI perspective. There's a kind of competitive pressures, like you don't want somebody else to grab something that's integral to your part of the business. So those all kind of come into the focus. I think if you asked our tech guys, they would probably say, well, we could build anything. And they probably can.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that we'd like them to focus on. So that's why, for instance, Workplace is a great partner for us, because they can flip a switch and do things that might take us considerably longer to do, and it lets us focus on the more kind of agent-centric things that we want to do.
So when you think about your tech stack, what have you built that you did want in-house, and what are your plans on things that you do want to build, because this is the forces and the ROI, it's worth it to you to build?
Yeah, I mentioned eXp Enterprise before. Because that's so data intensive and so many things are kind of connected to each other, and it's important kind of proprietary information, that really made sense for us to build out on our own. Our staff uses it, our agents use it, and it's pretty easy to build onto. So that makes a lot of sense. In the coming year, we will probably continue to build out Enterprise, because there's a lot more things we want to offer our agents, and also just a lot more data I think our staff would like to have at their fingertips. I also think, I mentioned NPS before, Net Promoter Score. I think there's some interesting ways to take, data kind of rules and to know customer satisfaction on a lot of different things in a lot of different ways in real time will be super helpful to running our business.
Okay. Now, there's definitely some companies out there that are going to, they either have started to build, or maybe they're thinking about building some tech to help the real estate industry and help the brokerages out.
Right.
Have you thought about, there's still this problem that that exists for either us as a brokerage or for our agents or for the end consumer. I haven't seen a good solution out there that solved it, and I'm hoping that, and our developers probably won't have the time to work on it. I'm hoping that this will be invented by someone in the future.
Well, I mean, without getting too deep into the MLS structure in the United States, I mean, that's a huge area where having a good understanding of what listings you have. Again, we're kind of not a franchisor, we're a national brokerage, so having, like, I think we're in something like 400, 500 different MLSs, and having some coordination on our end will help that. And whether somebody else, there's a lot of companies that have tried to build things like that, or we kind of take control of it on our own. There's a couple options there, but that's just an area I think that the industry will continue to struggle with for a long time.
Now, from the outside looking in, I sometimes look at what investors have put their money towards, and I'm like, why are you doing that? So have you ever looked at where money is flowing in the industry and you really just think that it's not going to win, that's not the future, and it's just those things are going to fail?
Yeah, I mean, I might be a little biased, but as I mentioned, I was an early employee at Zillow, and you'll hear these companies say, I'm going to create a Zillow killer. And when I hear Zillow killer, I kind of lose interest. It doesn't mean somebody can't create an experience that's great for consumers. But that part, I kind of glass over, because taking on Zillow or Realtor, that would be hard. That doesn't mean we can't offer great things to consumers and make sure we have control over our own data. We definitely should. But when people say they're going to take on something huge like that, I wish them well, but I'm like, show me the proof of concept.
Now, one of the things I've noticed with EXP and how you guys have built out, a lot of the people that you've recruited that have wanted to join you guys, that you seem to be influential team leaders. Kind of, they've got good brands online, they've got good followings, they've got teams, very team-centric.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like it just happened this way, or was that because you really think that teams are the future of real estate, and you knew that if you could be the best thing for the team leaders and for teams, that would position you well for the future?
It's probably a little bit of both. Teams are naturally interested in joining EXP because they've built up this structure, and they kind of get to a fork in the road where, like, do I want to become an indie brokerage, or do I want to kind of keep growing this team under another brand? And then they have to kind of look at the plus and minus in terms of, liability, and do they have enough tech, and do they have enough training? And we're a real good solution for that, I think, because you can come aboard to EXP and get all the goodness of those areas, but if you want to still keep your local brand, you can. Some of the other folks in the business are a little more prescriptive in terms of, you better use our brand. And if Mitch Robinson Realty is the most well-known brand in my town and compliance allows that sort of thing, why would I want to give that up? I still need the support of a national brokerage, but if I'm the guy, let me be that person in my community.
With you guys growing quickly, yes, more agents, I'm sure, is at the top of the list to continue the rise and help you be as good or better than Keller Williams and Compass and Remax and Coldwell Banker. But are there any other things you think about, apart from recruiting agents, these are the things that we are still working on as a company that we still are not happy with, that if we can accomplish this, then we'll have reached our goals?
I'm never completely happy, just so you know. There's always work to do. I think there's an ability, when you think about EXP World, where all our agents are, and are there other services we can offer them in that world or in workplace or whatever. Again, when you get back to the notion that agents are independent business people, and they need help with a lot of different things. I always say agents have to be an architect, a legal expert, you're a marriage counselor, you have to do it all. And are there things, you only have so many hours in the day, and are there services or products that we can provide to you because we've already built the pillars of the world, and are there other things we can put in the world to help people, help our agents be successful?
Do you guys have a thought on, hey, when I think about the future of agents and how they got to build their business, these are some of the changes they're going to have to make moving forward in order to be successful?
Yeah, You know, I think agents today are the dividing line of kind of the haves and the have-nots among agents. It's always kind of shifting a little bit, but there's definitely a line. And you know, on one hand, I think a company today, you know, you have to build things for the haves that want to grow and kill it, and the have-nots. How many of them can you move over to the other side? And you know, what we provide for both groups of agents will be a little different. The haves, you know, may say, you know what, there's not a great CRM out there, help me. And there's a number of choices, but it may not be what they're looking for. The have-nots, which maybe isn't the best term, but those that want to move into more production, for instance, they may really be focused on training. Right now we're adding more and more training to our agents, and that seems to be super helpful. We have a great mentor program, for instance, that helps them. So again, I kind of have to kind of partition agents into a number of different groups, and everybody needs something.
Cool. So before we finish off, I'd like to say we appreciate you and giving value. So we got anyone and everyone in real estate kind of is watching this. So what kind of needs do you have? Like, what are your challenges that if someone's watching and has a certain role in a certain company or in the industry could maybe help you out with?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think what I'm always after is trying to understand real estate agents better. I'm always trying to, whether it's from a data perspective or just kind of immersing myself in their world. That's one of the things I'm trying to get at. So data about the industry, not just EXP agents. I think that's kind of fascinating to me, and NAR in the U.S. does a pretty good job at it. But I think there's always the ability for more and more data to help us understand who's out there.
And is that who should be an agent, or is that now that you're an agent, how do I help you with your day-to-day, or is it how do I help you with your whole life building? Like,
it's a little bit of all, but I'm particularly interested in those that have become an agent and what kind of experiences they're having, whether they're with EXP or any other, you know, wonderful brokerage or franchise.
And what are their pain points, and how do I solve that?
I just find that again, I really think of agents as local business people, and I never really get to talk to agents about things that are very local, like gee, I have to order office supplies, and boy, that's painful. Like down to that level. That's what I'm kind of interested in, or really understanding agents how much time they have to spend on different activities during the day. I mean, I'll just quickly tell you, I was with an agent once, and he said, "Okay, time for the glamour part of my day," and we went to a house where somebody had left all their clothes in after the closing. He's like, "Well, we're going to take clothes out. They're all on hangers. Let's go." And I was like, wow, he just spent like an hour and a half out of his day like cleaning up because the agent on the other end didn't do it.
That's
right?
wild.
And, like, there's a bunch of other things going on in the business that we never take time to think about.
And companies or the consumers, like the tech founders may not know about this, the consumers may not know about this, but that is a huge part of the industry that if you're going to help innovate in it, you've got to actually solve these things that people don't even like to talk about because it's not.
Yeah, you know, if you run great technology for an agent, but the agent doesn't have time to even sit down and use what you've built, you've got a problem. Yeah. So we got to hit some of those pain points as well.
How can people get in touch with you?
My email address is mitch.robinson@exprealty.com.
Well, thanks very much for being on the Real Estate Moguls.
Am I officially a mogul now?
You are high up. You are a real estate mogul in the industry. So that's it for this episode. As always, get in the market. Real estate's a ton of fun.